Hey everyone, and welcome to the Dota 2 Builds of the Week, the weekly series where I show you guys top 5 meta builds to help you get started with new heroes in Dota 2. As always, a link to my Twitch is down in the description below. I invite you to join us live. It's a lot of fun, and if you'd like to gain access to these guides in-game, you can find all the links to the Steam Workshop down below. Today we're getting started with Position 1 Naga Siren. Naga Siren's seen some work in the pro meta, and what's interesting about Naga Siren is that she has a very interesting approach to the overall game. She is a hero that builds a ton of stats because she's an illusion-based hero, but she's also a melee illusion-based hero, which allows her to lane very effectively. She last hits very effectively. She is a relatively strong laner and an incredibly fast farmer, and someone who can really propel themselves effectively into the late game. She has a good win rate, and let's talk about the build. So basically, she has seen some changes. The biggest change that she saw in the latest patch is that Riptide was changed from a percentage base to every 6 attacks. And it also includes a talent tree change where you can actually make it every 5 attacks from either yourself or a mirror image where you actually proc Riptide. So Riptide has become this very interesting thing that scales specifically with attack speed. So it's really important to understand that she is building a lot of agility now, a lot of attack speed, and what you're seeing is that early game she is going double Wraithband. This is very common in Naga builds. This allows her to not only farm very fast, but it also benefits her illusions as well. The armor's beneficial, the attack speed's beneficial. She loves the stats, right? Into power treads. And then what's interesting about this is depending on the game, before you go Manta, a lot of pros are going to Fusel Blade depending on the game situation. If you're against a mage or magic heavy lineup or a Medusa or anybody that really disproportionately is disadvantaged by the mana burn, she's a great holder of the Fusel Blade. So gives her the stats she wants. The slow is really effective because remember she's a melee hero, so it helps to lock down someone within range. Diffusal Blade is a great option for her, and it's often put in before the Manta style. People really like the Manta style because it allows her to kind of dispel things and be a little more elusive. And then finally, Scotty, because quite frankly, Scotty, it just gives so many stats that, you can't help but want it. It really tanks up the illusions, which is great. And then, Ags is kind of a luxury item. It allows you to increase the cast range of Ensnare, cast it on people affected by Song of the Siren. So it's pretty good, it's useful, it's a great skill, but at the same time, if you have more of a need for like an MKB or a BKB or a Bloodthorn, which is an absolutely fantastic item on her as well, you can go towards that or skip right to a Heart of Tarrasque. The Ags, while very common, is one of the more optional ones, where Heart of Tarrasque again just makes you basically unkillable and your illusions unkillable, which allows them to create a lot of map pressure by pushing in the side lanes. Dragon Knight mid. You don't often hear this because he's one of those heroes that I talk about in my beginner's guides all the time. He's a great mid, but in the pro scene, you don't often see him being played mid. And Dragon Knight, everyone's kind of sleeping on him. Like, yeah, he's okay. But there was one major change in the recent patch that really amplified him, and people are like, huh, he might actually be really good now, specifically as a tempo mid, and that was the change that was made to his Aghanim Shard, which basically allows him to do AoE damage with like this giant fireball that kind of just writes off area. It's like a fireball version of Jakiro's ult. And what's interesting about it is that people are prioritizing it. So what they're doing is they go Dragon Knight mid, even offlane. Again, this works. This guide actually specifically is both offlane and mid, but anyways, we're specifically talking about mid right now. But what's happening is people are going double Bracer for the stats, Soul Ring, Boots, a lot of small items because they want to play tempo, okay? And from there, they're trying to go Blink Dagger, Aghanim Shard. But, however, I will say this, is that as much as the Blink Dagger is valuable, they're actually prioritizing the Shard. So at 15 minutes, if they're at like 1600 gold and they don't have their Blink Dagger yet, they'll actually buy the Shard because the Shard amplifies their farm so much. They can use the Shard to clear waves, they can push waves, they can take camps, they can do all these things. They can farm so fast with the fireball that essentially like the shard allows them to get to the blink dagger faster, allows them to team fight better. Because what you're doing is once you have your blink, you basically blink in, you dragon tail somebody, you use your shard, you fireball them, you breathe fire, and all of a sudden like it's this burst amount of damage that like people just can't sustain. And especially if you get onto the back line on the supports, they just explode. Like they can't deal with the amount of damage into BKB and then Ags. This is kind of unique. A lot of guys are going Ags because they want to be able to basically be like this real kill threat as a Dragon Knight. So it's a really interesting play. And once again, if you take them off lane, you have a couple different variations, right? You have the Heaven's Halberd, you have the pipe, but regardless, you're still taking the shard. And this is kind of what's happened. you're still taking the shard. Now the shard, if you're on the off lane, is less of a priority. When you're in mid, you want the shard almost right at 15 minutes because of how it snowballs your game. So Dragon Knight is seeing a lot of play again right now, being experimented at mid, mainly because of the effectiveness of the shard and his ability to farm with it. Position 3 off lane, one of the absolute most dominant off lanes in the last little while has been Beastmaster. Despite all the changes he's received, the nerfs he's gotten, the odd buff here and there, what's happened is that they changed the neutral camps significantly. They changed the neutral creeps, and now there are multiple neutral creeps that are extremely viable. Some of which, the Harpy is incredible for scouting. You have ones that provide a ton of utility. You can basically take towers with the raised dead skeletons that everyone's talking about. That troll. But regardless, he's just a good hero right now. And one of the things that a lot of people sleep on is how Vision wins Dota games. And Call of the Wild Hawk is incredible. It creates so much vision, and it's one of those skills that people really sleep on. When you have a Beastmaster on your team, you're like, wow, we actually know where the enemy is a lot of the time. We have this scouting opportunity. So he's just such a great utility hero. That being said, he has a very early power spike, and then he falls off very rapidly. And the build is relatively straightforward. You're going Helm of the Dominator, you're focusing on the Helm of Iron Will first, into a Ring of Basilius to allow you to kind of sustain your mana. Brown Boots into Helm of the Overlord. Once you get the Helm of the Overlord, this is your primary spike. You're pushing as hard as you can, taking objectives as hard as you can. You are attempting, to basically pressure the opposite team as much as you can here, because this is your timing. This is when you're the strongest. You only get weaker from here. Then you go Drums of Endurance into, whoa, I'm missing something here. Whoa, hold on. We got to add the bongo boots. What are we doing here? Optional items. The bongo boots got to get over here. What are we doing there, Alex? Come on now, fix that. Hey, I'm sorry, okay? It's late. But anyways, what happened was, you're seeing a lot of opportunities. You go Helm of the Overlord, you go Drums of Endurance, and then what you do is you actually, because you have these brown boots, you are going shard for the stun on your Hawk into AC, but later on, you actually have the opportunity to build the Boots of Bearing. Why? You have the Drums of Endurance, you have the brown boots. All you got to do is finish the Tranquils, get the recipe, and you got a very viable item on someone like Beastmaster, because it benefits not only his team, but all his minions under control. So you're able to push out down enemy towers, right? So anyways, he's a great hero, a lot of utility in the off lane. You don't build pipes so often anymore, but Halbert's being bought, Lotus is being bought, BKB not so much. Blink is probably the most common, so if there's a drow or a sniper, you blink, you roar them. You probably end up dying, honestly. The other version of Beastmaster we're talking about is the Arcane Boots and Eggs Aether Lens build, which just allows you to wild axe like crazy. You'd have to build your, you'd have to pick the appropriate talent for that, by the way, but it is a lot of fun. It allows him to kind of be more useful later in the game, to be honest with you, because you do so much damage just whipping your axes around. It's a little more of an awkward gameplay of Beastmaster, but still a lot of fun. I also did a full beginner's guide on him. I'll link it up above, so if you want to check him out, definitely check out that video. I think it does a lot to help you get started with one of the more complicated offlaners in the game, but still an absolute beauty. If you've been watching any pro Dota, you'll know that Weaver is one of the most contested heroes in the game. Mainly because the way the draft works, honestly, because you pick Weaver up front, and then he can be a support, he can be a carry, there's so much flexibility with how you utilize someone like Weaver. It's kind of the reason why Tiny is so valuable as well. Very versatile. But we're going to be focusing on support Weaver, which is where most people are playing him right now. Basically, what you're doing is you're building towards being an absolute nuisance. You're building towards being tanky. You want to use the swarm as effectively as you can. You want the armor reduction. You want the more attacks on the swarm to kill. You want the extra Sakuchi charges. With Sakuchi, you're so mobile. And that is why we're saying that boots are actually kind of skippable on Weaver. You're seeing a lot of pros not even building Tranquils or not even building brown boots, because Sakuchi is such an amazing movement spell. It only has a 6-second cooldown at level 4, 60 mana. It's like nothing. You move so fast. It's just so good. And that's why Weaver is so valuable, because he's so hard to kill. If you want to kill him, you have to commit so many resources, dust, sentries, and stuff. So a lot of guys are skipping Tranquils, but don't, if you want to, grab it, right? Magic Wand is so important. If he gets caught, he basically dies right away. And you're going right into a Vessel. You're rushing the urn, going into Vessel, and then going Ags. And this is kind of the main purpose of Weaver. It allows you essentially to time-lapse allies. And, when you have your carry PA or carry whatever it is that's, in the middle of a team fight, and you time-lapse them, the enemy team's well, we just used all our burst. I guess we're dying. So he's an incredibly versatile support in that sense, and it mostly revolves around his Scepter. It's a little greedier, but really, Scepter, Spirit Vessel and his Swarm really does a ton. And if the game goes really late, honestly, with the way Germinate attack works, like, I said Geminate, but you could essentially, like, build a Mjolnir or a Maelstrom and, like, actually kind of, like, partially carried too. So, like, he's such a damn good hero right now. I didn't include the Mjolnir here because, I mean, this is supposed to be a support guide. I don't want you guys getting too greedy. But, like, he can literally build all the standard support items, okay? Eidos is great catch. Because he's so mobile, you know, you can Solar Crest someone's Coccia and, like, you're kind of invulnerable. Invisibility is invulnerability, right? And, you know, you don't really have to worry so much about the negative armor. Plus, if you get caught, you die anyway. You know, you have the Yule Scepter where you can dispel dust. He's just a great hero, and I think a lot of people are really abusing the fact that he has great timings. He's always useful throughout the game. He's extremely mobile. He can scout, he can gank, he can do it pretty much everything. So he's a very fantastic support. Position 5 hard support, it's your boy Treant, and you know, I love Tree. He's just so fun. Playing Treant, I mean, there's so many different ways you can play him. You can play him as, like, this really heavy harassment hero in lane with the Nuve, Orb of Venom, I should say. You can play him as, like, this global healer with a Holy Locket. And you can just play him as an initiator with, like, Blink Ult. He's just so good, and he has one of the biggest right clicks in the game. He's mobile. He's a great scouting hero with his Ags. He's just, like, one of those heroes that's, like, just always viable. Like, no one will ever be upset when you pick a position 4 or 5 Treant Protector. With regards to his build, okay, you are taking value points in Nature's Grasp, and then focusing on Leech Seed with this particular build, because you are going Oof, right? You're going Oof. You're going to go Leech Seed into Nature's Grasp. The one thing you want to get here, now I focus more on the clarity, but realistically, you probably should make sure you have a Sentry. I'm going to add that. I should add it. I should add a Sentry because you really do want to prioritize the Sentry over the clarity, I think. I'm actually going to change that right now. This is twice on the video, on the fly, while I'm talking. I'm like, man, I disagree with what I did there. That's the wonderful thing about Dota, though, right? Like, you know, the builds are so versatile, and, like, this serves as a launching point, right? But as people get more familiar with heroes and what's going on, like, if I see a Treant Protector, and it's also getting a lot more common that people are effectively blocking camps. So if you are in the safe lane, you want to have this, because you need to be able to side pull, right? You need to be able to side pull. So I think the clarity is less valuable than the Sentry Ward. Live edits, here we are. But anyways, I do think that going Magic Stick into Boots, Arcanes, and Meteor Hammer is great for him. He really benefits from Meteor Hammer because he can do it from the tree line. It allows him to push objectives very effectively because he can meme hammer the wave and the towers, which is great. It allows him to also build a Holy Locket once you have your stick, Holy Locket, and then you can essentially be this, like, map pressure creating hero where you're taking objectives with Meteor Hammer, you're keeping objectives alive with living armor, and then you're using your blink to initiate with Overgrowth, which pierces BKB. A lot of people forget that. This is a BKB piercing spell. So even someone like Pangolier, who's rolling, if you blink in and ult, Overgrowth will actually stop him, hold him in place. So it's one of those skills that, like, is truly amazing. It really destroys all mobility. Against a lot of lineups, mobility is the core focus of what they do. Storm Spirits, you know, Queen of Pain, stuff like that. So he's a very great pick in those lineups against, you know, a lot of mobility. And he has a great selection of items, right? Force Staff, Yules, you know, he's a good Solar Crest builder as well because he can Solar Crest and kind of weave into trees and stuff like that, and kind of, you know, the negative armor doesn't really impact him that much. Lotus Orb, a little greedier, but he benefits from the armor. Echo Shell's great. He has a decent, I shouldn't say he has a decent mana pool, but this actually helps his mana pool a little bit, which is, you know, really valuable for someone like Treant Protector. Regardless, Tree, how do you not love him? He's a great hero. Thank you guys so much for watching, and a very special thank you to all of our wonderful subscribers. I really look forward to seeing you on Twitch, and we'll see you in the next Dota 2 video.